the circulatory system, and the pulmonary system. The big idea here is the pulmonary circulatory system, driven by pressure, generated by the heart, functions as a whole to supply oxygen to and to remove carbon dioxide from your cells. We all know that one of the byproducts of cellular respiration, which of course helps deliver oxygen to us, is carbon dioxide, and we don't want excess carbon dioxide hanging out on our bodies. It's important to know that there are different types of circulatory systems. You've probably noticed that you have blood, and you might have seen that when you've cut yourself or had an accident. However, if you've ever stepped on an insect or an arachnid like a spider, what you saw was something different. That's because spiders have something called hemolymph, which is that ooey gooey yellowish fluid that comes out. So when you think of the circulatory system, you probably think about the heart, and this is usually the model that you've probably been working with. But did you know that different animals have different types of heart, and they have different chambered hearts? You and I, birds and mammals, we have what's known as a 4-chamber heart, but other animals have different chambers, like fish, for example, have a 2-chambered hearts. Amphibians have a 3-chambered heart, and reptiles as well have a 3-chambered heart. So humans and mammals have evolved with this 4-chambered heart. And it's your heart that helps do all the heavy lifting, circulating that blood throughout the body. The lungs, of course, deliver the oxygen as well, and they are equally as important to this system. So the way your heart is set up is that this left ventricle has very high pressure. In fact, it looks like the heart kind of slightly tilts to the left, and that's because this left ventricle is more muscular. That's because it's designed for that high pressure. So then that blood moves out of the left ventricle through a giant tube. That giant tube is known as the aorta, and then, of course, through the arteries. Those are your blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart. In your notebook, you'll get a nice labeled diagram of the heart that will be a great reference for you for any upcoming tests or notes. Now, since the heart is so important to this process, let's do a quick overview of how this process works with your heart. So deoxygenated blood comes from your superior and inferior vena cava into your right atrium, which is right here, into your tricuspid valve, also known as the AV valve, and then into the ventricles here. So it's going to go into your right ventricle, and from there it's going to go up and into the pulmonary artery right here. So arteries are always moving away from the heart, and the goal of the pulmonary artery is to deliver that to the lungs. And of course, when you think of lungs, you think of oxygen, and that's because we take that deoxygenated blood and we are going to the lungs to get it oxygenated. So that oxygenated blood is going to go into so that's your left atrium, and that blood has oxygen. It's then going to go through our bicuspid valve, also known as our left AV valve, down into our left ventricle. And again, this is oxygenated blood. And then it's going to go through the aorta. That's this big artery. So it's going to send that blood throughout the arteries and throughout the body, and it's going to come back again. I wanted to point out that whenever we see these diagrams and we see the blue for deoxygenated blood and the red for oxygenated blood, there's often a misconception that blood is sometimes blue, but I wanted to stress blood is always red. It can be brighter red because of the iron levels and things like that, but it's always red. So now I wanted to point out that your title page should look something like this. with the diagram clearly labeled of the outside of the heart. We will get into the inside chambers in more detail in another video. So if you need to, go ahead and pause this video now and make sure your notes match this page. So in this video, we learned about the heart, an overview of the circulatory pulmonary system, and I wanted to stress that it's important to know that we will have more videos following this topic and more information to come. So make sure that you're getting out there, taking good care of yourself, and taking good care of your body.